Hey guys, and welcome back to CBR MTG. My name's Jake Sims, and we're joined with Angus McKay.
G'day, guys.
Today we'll be watching James Caeser on his Grixis Delver list, and Angus McKay on his Soldiers list. Very spicy brew. Angus, do you want to run us through what Soldiers is trying to do and what it's about?
Yeah, absolutely. So I found this deck perusing a very lightly known YouTube channel that's kind of still picking up called Fringeworthy. We'll link in the comments. It's definitely worth checking out. But this video is called my love letter to Wizards of the Coast, my love letter to Magic, and it was talking about this gentleman that was interviewed, and he had a deck that was all soldiers, and it was Soldier Tribal, and he had foiled it out. He's fawning over this deck, and I said, oh, I have to check this out. So with the recent, well, not really recent anymore, but since Ixalan came out, there was a running joke about Pirate Stompy, which was essentially by MTG Goldfish with Sean Brown, and Wizards of the Coast were talking, Hipsters of the Coast were talking about a Pirate Stompy deck, and it was like kind of a running joke because it wasn't really a list. Well, Sean Brown made a list, and then we were talking about whether or not it was viable and blah, 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 but it kind of got the ball rolling for me, thinking about like, well, I want something that shakes up the meta. I want something that like beats Grixis Delver. And like Grixis Delver is a very, very powerful deck, you know. It's very well established and kind of like hard to beat, you know. You've got a lot of archetypes in Legacy, but none are sort of better than Grixis Delver and Check Pile. So I wanted to test this deck because casting a Chalice on one is very, very fun. And I think that's probably where I want to start with fun, accessible decks. We're seeing here, speaking of Chalice on one, we're seeing an Ancient Tomb and a Plains and another, so two Plains, a Chalice and a couple of spicy soldiers. So we have Captain of the Watch, Preeminent Captain, and Thalia, Garden of Thraben. Before I continue with the backstory, and we'll come back to that eventually, but I just wanted to run through this deck really quickly. So we've got basically just a bunch of soldiers and then some disruption pieces. So the soldier package is Ballyrush Bannernet, which is a soldier that makes soldiers cost less. And then there's Captain of the Watch, which is a 6 mana, 4 and white 3/3 soldier with vigilance, and it gives other soldiers +1/+1 in vigilance, and it also makes 3/3 soldiers as well. So this is like very, very high-end stompy card where it comes from M15, but like playable in Legacy all of a sudden. And we've got Daru War Chief, which makes your soldiers cost less and gives them a buff. And Enlistment Officer, which is a 3 white, 2/3 for 3 white with first strike, and when it comes into the play, reveal the top 4 cards of your library. Put all the soldier cards reveal this way into your hand, so it's essentially like a collected company. Palace Jailer, which has been seeing some play in Death and Taxes, and the 8 pack of Thalias, so Thalia Heretic Catharan, Thalia Garden of Thraben, and then Preeminent Captain, which is a Kithkin soldier with first strike, and when it attacks, you may put a soldier card from your hand onto the battlefield tapped and attacking. So it's like pretty a pretty aggressive deck, but it has a few pieces that will sort of disrupt combo as well.
It's a kind of an odd blend, almost like a Merfolk / Death and Taxes list, really. Just being able to make your dudes cheaper and giving them buffs, very Merfolk-like.
Absolutely.
And then, just having your big payoffs with your tribal synergy. The captain being especially playable with the other, what is it, the
Preeminent Captain.
Yeah.
The first strike, when it attacks, it sneaks a creature card onto the battlefield. So, I mean, you can get your Captain of the Watch out as early as turn 2 because you can, with the Chrome Mox and the Ancient Tomb sort of powering it out. This is me missing a Gataxian Probe. That's fine. So for anyone who's watched a few of our videos, you'll notice that I have an interesting view about Chalice. Basically, if there's one on the table, it doesn't stop you from casting spells unless it's on your own side. So feel free to chuck as many spells as you can into it, and it's up to your opponent to remember those triggers. Jake, I know you're very good at it, playing a lot of Eldrazi in your time. James has gotten pretty good at it as well. I have definitely had a dig at him before, but I'm terrible at it. I'm no good. I think we've seen a couple go through. But that's okay. So we're seeing an early preeminent captain, as we were mentioning before. So hopefully we see with what's in my hand, this Captain of the Watch, and this is me explaining it to James as well, because you can see what it's in my hand. I'm basically saying, if I swing with this, I'm putting this Captain of the Watch into the battlefield. So we'll see what comes out of James's hand. He's put down this he's put down the Young Pyromancer, and he's still got the Deathrite Shaman out. So he's definitely going to go as best he can through all this hate, but hopefully he'll be able to put down something a little bit more substantial to take care of that Captain of the Watch, because it is only a 3/3 at the moment. If I get another Lord down, like a Daru Warchief, then it might be a bit different. But for now, it's just a 3/3, so...
yeah, that Chalice on 1, provided you remember your triggers, it shuts off his Fatal Pushes and his Lightning Bolts, so anything that can get rid of the Captain is pretty much shut off.
Yeah, exactly right. So, bar combat damage. So it looks like James is following along with us and decided to drop a 5/5, being the Gurmag Angler. So this is kind of like, this is the most combat mass I've ever had to do in my Magic career. Usually a filthy... I've remembered this. I'm good on me.
Got that.
I'm usually just a ape playing ape magic with my combo decks, so I never have to worry about combat maths. But now I'm in a situation where if I put the Captain of the Watch into play, he will eat it with the Gomag Angler, and then it's like not really worth it anymore, you know? Like, hopefully I can stave off a couple more turns, because he's not really inclined to swing with the Gomag Angler either. And because of my first strikers, Preeminent Captain also having first strike, he's probably not inclined to swing him with the Pyromancer anyway, or even the tokens. So we're kind of at a standstill right now, and this is definitely going to make it worse with the Thalia Heretic Cathar coming down as well.
Thalia would have been nice last turn. Just having the Gomag Angler enter tapped would have been huge, because in a weird way it does shut off the Captain, you know, putting in your other
Preeminent Captain, yeah, because Preeminent Captain's only a 2/2. I mean, it does have first strike, but it's not going to stop a Gomag Angler, and I prefer if the Captain of the Watch didn't get eaten, just because there's not a whole lot going on my side, and having that buff would certainly be very good for me. But I mean, it's coming into the late game. I've got 4 mana open. All I need is just to draw either an Ancient Tomb or another 2 lands, and we're probably fine. So I can hold back, and I can hold back for a couple of turns, and then he's not inclined to swing at all. So we'll probably just draw a couple of cards, say go for a little while, but hopefully I'll come out a little bit more victorious. We'll see what we pull off the top here.
In the face of this standstill that's going on, he does kind of have the advantage with the Deathrite Shaman, just being able to shock you each turn, basically. But here we go.
So lucky.
Never didn't have it.
Yeah, that's right. The on point. So on the top of the library, there was that Ancient Tomb. So yeah, you're absolutely right, Jake. Like with the standstill, the thing that breaks the standstill is Deathrite Shaman activations. So I was very lucky to be able to get this preeminent the Captain of the Watch out a little bit quicker. Now you have to excuse us, we didn't have any soldier tokens. It was a bit of an oversight on my part, but we're going to use Thopter tokens instead, which should be fine. So we've got, as per Captain of the Watch ETB, it when it enters the battlefield, I put 3 1/1 white soldier creature tokens onto the battlefield. So like now I kind of now I can start swinging because I have vigilance. So because Captain of the Watch gives all your creatures vigilance. So I mean, Thalia is now 3/2. Preeminent Captain is a 3/3. So oh no. A Chalice is just a useless useless artifact.
But is he going to remember the Young Pyromancer trigger as well?
Oh yeah,
everyone's forgetting triggers.
We're truly wizards on this blessed day. So we're seeing a Resolve Brainstorm. I think he's maybe I was just passing the turn. I could be okay with letting a couple of creatures get eaten at this point because I have 2/2s with Vigilance and First Strike. Like, one of them is going to get eaten by the Gurmag Angler, but it still means I get 4 damage through, and he's only at 8. So, like, I haven't swung that many times, but because we're dealing with shocks and all that stuff, there's because we're dealing with just a couple of hits from those preeminent captains or Thalia, like he's already down to 8, so it could be worth it to just swing in, have a couple of my tokens die, and just keep this game going because James definitely has the advantage in this long run.
Trying to see what James has also got in hand. I'm spotting a Brainstorm and another Gurmag Angler, it looks like, and maybe 1 or 2 mystery cards. Another Gurmag Angler here would be, like, 1 is already a problem for you because you're not playing any removal like his standard Death and Taxes list, like Swords to Plowshares or anything like that.
Having to respect that Chalice on 1.
Yeah.
But, I mean, Gurmag Angler will come in tapped in this very instance because of Thalia, but I mean, could be fine. I'm definitely just going to start getting aggressive. I probably can swing with everything but the Captain of the Watch. It seems like I'm only swinging with the tokens, but look, the Captain of the Watch is keeping this sort of this dream alive and keeping the Gurmags at bay because I could easily double block, and because I have First Strike, it's like not an issue at all. But it looks like we're going to eat a token and trade a token. So that's probably fine. All he needs to do is cast a spell each turn. If the Chalices, even if the Chalice triggers don't resolve, he's still going to get the triggers for his elementals. So, which is very good for him. So he's still getting these. He's still getting elementals. It doesn't matter whether or not they're going to get countered by the Chalice, so at least he's got that under his belt. He can start creating some young Pyromancer tokens at will. I think Thalia Heretic Cathar should probably see more play. I mean, it might just not be good enough for Death and Taxes, but I have seen it did get a little bit of play for a little while, but the fact that it's like a 3-drop instead of a 2-drop is like a huge thing for Death and Taxes. So we're seeing here James just like collecting these tokens, but he's not even able to crack that fetch. Like he's gonna have to crack that fetch at end of turn, so that his non-basic land will come into play tapped. Like he's gonna have to play bloody Modern for a little while now instead of being able to fully utilize that fetch land.
Though he is running 1 basic island, still.
Yeah, I mean probably more than most Grixis Delver lists play, but probably not worth it. I mean, he's empty-handed at the moment. There's probably not anything that he could top deck that would be worth paying 4 mana for. We see in my hand there's a Enlistment Officer, so I think we're going to play that out now. That's perfect for refilling my hand. This is essentially a cantrip. It's very hard for me to whiff on this because I've got so many 4-drops of soldiers, but this is the Enlistment Officer. It's First Strike, 2/3 for 3 and 1. We see James also inspecting the card. This is probably the first time anyone's ever seen it before, but when it comes into play, I reveal the top 4 cards of my library and put all soldier cards revealed this way into my hand and the rest onto the bottom of the library. So we're putting a Caracas and a Chromox onto the bottom of the library, and I'm picking up a Ballyrush Bananet and another Thalia. I've correctly decided not to play the other Thalia because of the legendary rule. But we're putting this Ballyrush Bananet. Probably not worth it at this point. This is the one that makes all your soldiers cost 1 less to play. Probably just doesn't really do anything, but I mean it does block. So we do see James last turn picking up that second Gurmag Angler, which is pretty fantastic for him. So that's a 2 of in his deck, so he's been very lucky to get both of those, but that will definitely hold me back for quite some time. I mean, I'm just going to start swinging with idiots because they all have vigilance, so there's no real downside to me doing that. We're seeing Thalia come in ever so valiantly, me being particularly reckless with my Thalia because I have another one in hand, so she's definitely coming in for the kill. And then we see the preeminent captain coming in as well. So we'll see what happens here. So we're just going to block, and then are we going to... Yeah, just lose them all. I mean,
This seems fine. You're putting James on the back foot like this, and yeah, I don't hate committing the Baronet to the battlefield because James isn't running any Toxic Deluge's main or
Yeah.
side for that matter. That you don't need to worry about, getting blown out by that. And
yeah, surprising. I thought all lists play like any list that play black would play Deluge because it's like such a good spell, but notably missing from James' sideboard, which is probably fine.
Yep.
Not many decks go wide these days, so it's probably just a meta call from James, which is correct. But we'll see what happens here. James taking out a Ancient Tomb with his Wasteland.
Yep.
Not quite the tempo play he was probably looking for, but it's been done. At least it didn't come in tapped like it would have last turn. Alright, so both in top deck mode. I think top deck mode is better for me than it is for him because he can't cast any of his cantrips. So, I mean, if I get another Enlistment Officer, then I'm fine.
Yeah.
We see James fetching in response. Not that it hugely matters because he's getting his one-off basic island. Perhaps it wasn't in response, but it could just be a just a force of habit where he's just like he sees the thing, he's fetching up, he realizes that he only needs a basic island or that's all he has available to him, and that's what he got, so no issue there. But
how do you feel about those new unbasics? I, for one, love them.
I like
A
him.
lot of people haven't rated them, but just that they look like there's something from outside of Magic.
People are people are very divided about
Yeah,
them.
absolutely. James obviously being a fan of them, but
Yeah. I like them a lot. We bought a couple of boxes for perhaps this weekend or next week, but looking very forward to just maybe having some and probably packing them away, or just putting them in my folder because they're going to be worth a lot if you wait long enough. Like the unglued and the unhinged lands
yeah.
are super beautiful.
Absolutely.
And like people love them as well, so like they're fetching quite a decent price at the moment. I possibly could get away with holding on with a couple, so I mean we'll see what happens, but I love them. I love them as well. I think they look very as you said, they're unlike Magic cards, so it's nice to have a little bit of flair in your deck as well.
James just drew a brainstorm and with the chalice around on one and no Pyromancer around. Yeah, it doesn't seem worth trying to just throw that into the face of the chalice, trying to get a token out of him.
It's a shame about the Pyromancer, but yeah, he's just on such a low life total at the moment. Like, if he's not conservative with his blocks, then like he's gonna have to if he's not paying attention to his blocks, he's just gonna get blown out by these vigilant first strikers. Captain of the Watch notably staying back for every combat since it's been out, but for good reason. Like, these Gomags are just going to eat anything that I put down, so I'm just going to try and get as much damage as I can possibly through. Me possibly getting bored of trying to figure out the combat mass and just swinging and hoping for the best. Now I have 7 power on the table. James really needing that Delver. That could have been a game ender for me, but luckily I remembered my Chalice trigger this time.
Deathrite Shaman has kept him in it, to be fair. You're giving
Absolutely.
him no shortage of things to nom with it.
To gain life, yeah.
Absolutely.
Probably a bit annoying for him not having any instants or sorceries coming from my end. Me having a total of 0 instant or sorceries in my deck, so he's not being able to actually drain me for any amount, but just gaining life is probably fine as well. We see James starting to get a little bit aggressive on his side as well. Me trying to figure out the mass on this as well, so I can, if I take this, if I double block, interesting if I double block. I'm just going to take it, that's probably fine. So I can swing in for 7 next turn. He's going to be forced to block 1, so taking 4... not quite enough, but luckily this
Slamming this
my God.
Palace Jailer.
This will close out the game for sure. Like, the Palace Jailer is a 2 of. This is my only removal in the deck, but Lord, if it isn't a good one.
Yep.
So for anyone who doesn't know, when it enters the battlefield, you become the Monarch, and when it enters the battlefield, you can exile a target creature an opponent controls until they become the monarch. So I'm just going to leave a token back every turn, prevent him from ever getting in any combat damage towards me, and just drawing 2 cards a turn. Like, that's going to win me the game, you know? Like,
Palace Jail is just one of those odd cards that you see when it's spoiled. Like, you just skim over it. Oh, yeah, that might be all right in draft. Yeah. Just like Tireless Tracker, I did not expect to see it like as much in Legacy and like Highlander as well.
Oh, it's like it's played everywhere.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Letting another brainstorm go through. No. I'm probably so confident with like this now card advantage that I'm gonna get over James that like I'm just letting too much stuff go through. So hopefully he doesn't find anything too crucial for him to get through. But we'll see what James can pull out. I see he's got a land and a ponder in his hand, so he's probably like he's gonna be probably in a bit of a strife, and we're just packing it up from here.
One thing that we didn't see was Suppression Field from you. That's a 4-off. I really dig this card.
This is a meta breaker, right?
Yeah, for sure. Like, no one's expecting it. For anyone that's unaware, Suppression Field is a 1 white, 1 colorless enchantment. Activated abilities cost 2 more to play unless they're mana abilities. So that just stops like fetch lands. That stops Deathrite Shamans. Not indefinitely, but like it's still a heavy price to pay for.
It is a soft lock, but it's just so good. Like in Legacy, I just feel so confident about it. Here we are going to sideboards. Coming from my side is a 1 Armageddon, 2 Field Marshal, which is essentially just another Lord for 1 white. Gives all my creatures +1/+1 on first strike. 3 Oblivion Rings, 3 Phyrexian Revokers, 2 Rest in Peace. 4 Rest in Peace and 2 Worship. So Worship being the card that is it's an enchantment for 4 and white, and if you control a creature, damage that would reduce your life total to less than 1 reduces it to 1 instead. Because I'm going so wide, like if I just if I can nail that Chalice on 1, or I can stop Fatal Push with one of my 4 drops or 5 drops. I don't think I have any 5 drops. If I like prevent them with the 4 drops, then Worship gets very problematic for my opponent. So I think in this instance I'm bringing in an Oblivion Ring, of 2 Field Marshals, and a Phyrexian Revoker. Phyrexian Revoker just trying to turn off Deathrite Shaman, and then the other 2 just I really like had that ape brain where I saw a thing and I was like, oh, how am I gonna beat this thing? So I brought in the Oblivion Ring for the Gomag Angler. And then the Field Marshal just to kind of like make my creatures a bit taller, you know? So being a Lord that gives my creatures first strike is very good.
Looking at James's sideboard, we've got 1 Ancient Grudge, 1 Flusterstorm, 1 Sulphur Elemental, a True Name Nemesis, a Vidalian Click, 1 Leovold, an Extirpate, 3 Surgical Extractions, a Pithing Needle, 2 Pyroblasts, 1 Submerge, and 1 Winter Orb. James just flashed what he was bringing in. It looked like 1 Ancient Grudge, the Sulphur Elemental, the True Name, and I can't remember what that 4th card was.
Possibly, I'm not 100% sure, unfortunately. It was definitely, We did see a V-Click, I think, at one point as well, in that opening hand. So it was possibly that. There's a lot of dead cards for him, but I think he's definitely going to be prioritizing getting that Chalice off the board with his Ancient Grudge. He's got a lot of one-ofs in this deck.
Absolutely.
Possibly, a lot of people just prefer the one-ofs because you can sort of tailor your exact situation against what your opponent is playing instead of just trying to beat specific archetypes, which is definitely a smart move on James's part. But being able to play Winter Orb and Submerge and stuff just as a one-off, like, really sort of helps helps his game plan.
I like the True Name Nemesis. Just if you get into a face-off like you did in the last game, it's just a way to punch through that you can't answer.
Absolutely.
The Sulphur Elemental is weird, right? Because it's more for the Death and Taxes, where like they've got Flicker Wisp, they've got Thalia, and just all like X1 toughness creatures, where it's much more of a backbreaker. But against you with like all your lords and basically your X2s, not as impactful, but it's still good. Like, you might as well bring it in because it has flash. It's bit of a gotcha moment.
Yeah, I mean, you can definitely catch me off guard with the Sulfur Elemental. The Sulfur Elemental, for anyone who doesn't know, the flash 2 and red 3/2 with split second and flash, and white creatures get +1 -1. So just trying to kill those V clicks and all of Death and Taxes, which is
Pretty
essentially
much.
X1s. My Soldiers deck notably having a lot of 2/2s, so he could catch me off guard and probably get a Thalia or something, or maybe just use it as a combat trick. But I mean, we'll see if it gets anywhere. We're seeing our opening hands being pretty good from James's side. A Ponder and a Ponder on turn 1 and a what's her face, Young Pyromancer on turn 2, and then on my side I
Have a
had
Cavern of Souls and missed your second land drop, so not looking good for you straight off the bat. And he follows that with this Deathrite Shaman, which also going to add a lot of pressure, and a Lightning Bolt, bringing an Idiot with it with Young Pyromancer. Not
this
good.
is me going to my cleanup phase, pitching that Field Marshal, the one of the two that I sided in. Like, this is awful.
Yep.
I've done a bad job. This
Yep.
is classic unfortunate magic, because I
draw
saw
it.
the hand and it was like so good. I was like, I have a 2-drop, I have a 3-drop, I have a 4-drop, like everything's gonna go fine. But I just need one more land. Played a lot of combo in my time where you can just like keep weird hands like that, but you see me like going to turn 3, missing that 3rd land drop, and like James was just collecting that advantage like every
just
single
dropping
turn.
a threat every single turn, and just you can't deal with that even if you start to draw your lands and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's probably reasonable to make note of those sorts of games if you wanted to pick up a prison deck like this. I mean, not a prison deck, but a sort of a stompy deck. Is that like it's not a normal deck. Like it plays 4 Ancient Tombs and it plays 4 Chrome Boxes. Like, you need to be able to power out those 2-drops and those 3-drops like a turn earlier than they're meant to kind of make the deck function. So like keeping a Cavern and relying on it probably just wasn't good enough.
This looks like a better hand for you. I saw an Ancient Tomb of Plains. Like,
I saw an Ancient Tomb and a Chalice.
oh, did you? I didn't. I missed the Chalice. Okay, that's pretty good. You being on the play and being able to drop Chalice on 1, it's like Force of Will or bust for
yeah,
James.
exactly. And that's like something that you want to Force of Will, but I mean, if I was in James's position, I'd probably side out my Force of Wills, because it's just like, maybe. It's hard to say exactly, because like all of my dorks are like equally awful, but there are some, like, you definitely want to counter a Thalia, Heretic Cathar, or Palace Jailer or something, so it's probably not too bad of an idea. Unfortunately, this Brainstorm is going to come in instead. Now, we might see a Force of Will off the top. I believe I saw Trimney Nemesis, Cataxian Probe, and a Polluted Delta, so probably just going to let this Chalice resolve. Hopefully I remember all my triggers, because this is backbreaking for James. This is
Absolutely.
like 2 damage, stop your opponent from casting spells for the rest of the game. Like, he's probably going to test the waters. I have a feeling if he's anything like me, he's probably going to test the waters with the 1-drop, probably a Gitaxian Probe or something, and then just like see if it goes through. But he's going straight for this fetch, so he might just drop this Peasy in his hand as well. And we'll see what happens with that play. Like, he's probably just not confident that he can get away with more Chalice shenanigans. Oh, here we go. Oh, well, I mean, he's
that seems fine.
He definitely, I think he pointed into himself, like targeting himself, but at the pay 2 life, like, get a token, like, honestly, like, pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. Pay 2 life. So we're coming up on my turn, and now I've got 3 mana. This is like what we were talking about before, is that you can't just keep a 1-land hand, because I have 2 mana on turn 1, 3 mana on turn 2, and I'm able to cast this 3-drop, like the Oblivion Ring. I don't know, how do you feel about this line? Is it too aggressive? That's my 1 of Oblivion Ring that I brought in.
Yeah, I don't know what else is in your hand, but like, if that's your only thing that you can cast that turn, that seems reasonable. But I don't know. Young Pyromancer, you can seem to like you with your lords, you can seem to like out buff him. Oblivion Ring just being one of the clean answers to Go Mag Angler. Yeah, it might be worth hanging on to.
No, I think you're right. It's just hyper aggressive. Wasn't 100% sure what I was thinking at that point, but I was definitely sort of going along the lines of like, if I can stop this soon, then like I don't have to worry about it later. Like it could just like spiral out of control. He's probably got a bunch of 1-drops in his hand. I've seen a V-Click come down one of James's sideboard cards. We've seen an Enlistment Officer and a bunch of Glare. I see the Ballyrush Bayonet. I think a Suppression Field. Anyway, just a bunch of cards now. This is sort of the thing we were talking about with counter spells as well, is that like they're all just like equally awful. So he's probably not too inclined on taking any of them. I think at this point, actually, taking the Enlistment Officer is really good.
Sure.
Good call by James. That's the only card in my deck that like actually generates me advantage. So being able to sort of refill my hand after we go off with our little idiots is definitely something that he wants to stop happening.
That Bannerat's caught me out a couple times already. I've almost called it a Wasteland. It looks like the new Eternal Masters art for Wasteland.
It's a weird one. Look, this deck is full of cards that I've never seen before in my life. There it is. There,
yep.
Absolutely agreeing with the look of it. This just making my thing smaller. This sort of helps me like prepare for my next few turns. Like I'm making like I essentially now have 5 mana instead of am I taking it back? Interesting.
Luckily, this being just for funsies, we can do that kind of stuff.
Yeah, look, I'm just putting it down and thinking about what I'm doing. We're getting some very helpful. No. Yeah, all right. We've made the line. We've decided with it. You'll see an outside hand providing some well-deserved outside assistance. Then
just drawing a Flusterstorm. That's very interesting to bring in or keep it.
Yeah, he's possibly just counting for my sideboard, not knowing exactly what's going to come out of it.
Yeah,
it's good to have that catch-all against any sort of shenanigans that I might be trying to play post-board. But not very good right now with the Chalice. But, I mean, what can you do, right? If you have 2 mana open, you can play Gitaxian Probe and then fluster it so you can get 2 elemental tokens. On my side,
you've grown a third hand there.
Yeah, that's right. Getting some more outside assistance on how I should play. You know, you're playing a deck well when someone comes from outside of the game and says, "What the heck are you doing?" This is the Field Marshal coming in. Giving all my creatures 1/1 and first strike. Deciding that upon instruction from my helpful hand on the outside. Playing this, keeping notably some mana open, possibly for some. Oh, actually, I don't play anything at instant speed, so it's going to be nothing. But look, I use the Caracas. That's so strong.
That does stem the bleeding a bit. That's turned it from like a 2/10 clock into maybe 3 or 4 if you're lucky.
So he keeps getting those. I think you like. You see a Vendilion Click and you don't think to bounce it because then they get to play their thing again, Like there's a deck in Legacy, another brew, where you're just playing like a lot of legends and you're like bouncing them back to your hand with Caracas so that you can use them again, such as like Venser, Shaper Savant, and Vendilion Click, where you can just keep using the ability over and over again. But like now I'm not really thinking that I should be doing that, so I was very lucky to get that outside assistance telling me, hey, do you want to stop 3 damage every turn? Maybe you should do this. Here comes my Captain of the Watch coming down again. Being an absolute all-star, the 2 games that were relevant.
This is not nothing. That guy's brought 3/3s with Vigilance and First Strike with him.
Yes.
You've just ramped up the clock for yourself.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And keeping that Caracas untapped. He still gets the trigger. He can put the Enlistment Officer on the bottom if he wants. That's another Enlistment Officer. Being very lucky with that card, getting it every single time, trying to refill my hand. I think he's letting me keep it on top, which would be... letting me keep it in my hand, which is probably not very good because I have so much mana open at the moment. Like anything that I pull off with Enlistment Officer, I can probably cast that same turn. So, we'll see what happens here. We're coming in with the True Name. The elemental fluffing around, possibly going to try and block something. Also, it's my attack, of course. So because I have vigilance, I'm just never tapping my creatures, which makes for easy maths. I think looking back on it, the early, I mean, here comes the Gomag Angler. So I was about to say, hey, look, the Peasy was like a good idea that I countered that, but now the Gomag Angler is down. Thankfully, I am actually in a much better position than I was before, just because of that extra buff from the Field Marshal. So I was very lucky that everything is going my way. I do like to put videos up on our channel where everything is going my way on camera. Except for that game 2 where I lost horribly.
Yeah, we don't talk about it.
Yeah, we don't talk about that. And here comes, I can see some shoes in the corner of the camera, sort of looking over, making sure that I'm playing my cards right. Yeah, look, it's fine. Poor James isn't getting any outside assistance at all. This is hardly fair. Why did they make the rules of Magic like this, where I could just cheat? Now paying for a little bit more. I'm gonna chuck down this enlistment off, so we'll see what we get off the top. But could be lights out for poor James. We see Suppression Field and Caracas going back down the bottom, and then another Captain of the Watch and a Thalia Heretic Cathar coming in as well. I could possibly play the Heretic Cathar. I think I do. It's hard to say for sure what's about to go down, but making the V-click come in tapped is possibly worth doing.
Oh my God.
We're seeing me being a little bit more aggressive with my plays, putting everything, deciding now what I'm going to do. Now it's probably, I don't know if I put the Lords into the fray, because we're definitely going to eat one of the Lords, but it could be worth it to put just these 3/3s into play, and maybe even the Belly Rush Baronet that, oh, never mind, forget about it.
James has seen enough.
Yeah, that's reasonable.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was a very fun thing to watch for him, but yeah, that was that worked very, very well. We'll make sure that we link the videos from where I got this list from, so you can watch the original video. But hopefully, I can get the original creator onto this thing, so he can see his deck doing the best that it possibly can against a well-established deck. But I'm gonna keep an eye out for decks that I think could sort of freshen up the meta a little bit, because we love Legacy a lot, so it'd be good to sort of see exactly what's happening. We're seeing a change in sideboard from James's side that we cut out, but we're seeing him bring in the Leovold and the Surgical.
Maybe Palace Jailer scared him enough to warrant Leovold, but yeah, other than that, like, he seems a bit
yeah.
I mean, you do have Caracas, so he kind of like.
I don't think did he see a Caracas game 1 though?
I'm not entirely sure.
I don't think he did. So
yeah, Surgical is also a bit of a loose bring in. Maybe just trying to hit one of your your Lords or something like that, and get some more information on your deck when he looks through it.
Absolutely.
But other than that, doesn't
well,
seem.
If he manages to counter one by chance, because he didn't take out any Force of Wills, but look, I mean, we could go Ancient Grudge and then get rid of all those Chalices, because Chalice is like such a bad problem with him.
Yep.
But he just wasn't counting on the fact that I was like so good at Magic that I'd draw Chalice on every opening hand, except for game 2. But yeah, a couple of interesting sideboarding choices. But I did remember that James was talking about Leovold just being a 3/3 with no downside, so like a 3/3 for 3. So because he didn't see the Caracas, it was probably fine.
Yeah, but being a mono white deck, it's probably safe to assume that it's lurking around in there somewhere.
Absolutely. Now we see him taking out the 3 Dazes.
Yep. A Cabal Therapy, Young Pyromancer, Force of Will, and maybe that's the second Cabal Therapy.
Yeah, possibly.
Yeah.
Daze just being kind of dead card. It's very hard for me to not have 1 mana open. I mean, he could get really lucky on those first couple of turns, like especially if it was on the play, he'd be able to counter a Chalice as soon as it comes down with Daze, like, or counter the Thirst Thalia coming down. But yeah, I mean, very good showing from what is a less than $1,000 deck. Thank you so much for watching. Please stay tuned for always more legacy and modern content. Always bringing out new content, trying new things. Please like and subscribe, and we'll see you again next time.
Thanks, guys.